What's going on, everyone? So, I want to talk about Brandon Ingram and the potential of him returning to the Lakers. Lakers are clearly in the market for a wing, right? All of the targets that they're heavily pursuing are all, like Bruce Brown, Jerami Grant, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Kyle Kuzma. And I look at that and I go, okay, yeah, we definitely could use a legit two-way guy at the wing spot. Obviously, we need several things. We could use a good backup center. If we trade D'Angelo Russell, we could use a point guard. But the Lakers are really interested in bringing back Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie comes back, then I don't think you have the need for the point guard. It's not a coincidence Spencer Dinwiddie had his best game when D'Lo was out, and Darvin Ham had no choice but to play him at the point guard, right? And it was something that I was screaming all season when he was with, or at least the time he was with us. I just felt Darvin Ham played Spencer Dinwiddie out of position. He's not a 3-and-D wing. He is a point guard. But Darvin Ham, for whatever reason, thought, hey, he knew better. But anyway, I digress. Getting away from myself. But Brandon Ingram, right? Now, as far as the trade front goes, one, like what would it cost to get Brandon Ingram? Got to keep in mind, Brandon Ingram will be a free agent after this year. So that kind of is a factor in play. A lot of the teams that were interested in trying to acquire Brandon Ingram are all off the market. Like they all did things. Now, Sacramento, do they still go make a push for Brandon Ingram? But what are they giving up at this point, right? Are they going to give it up like Keegan Murray? I don't necessarily see that, but regardless, it's good because teams like Dallas that were interested, teams like Sacramento, like they've already all done these moves. So the market has kind of dried up a little bit for Brandon Ingram. You haven't heard as many talks and rumors about Brandon Ingram, but the Pelicans are actively still trying to trade Ingram. And also, where does Brandon want to go, right? Does Ingram want to go to a specific team? Is he open to several teams? Or is he like, no, like, hey, if the Lakers want me back, I'd love to go back to Lakers. There's a lot of talks about like, hey, Brandon Ingram might not want to come back to Lakers because they traded him. Lots of guys get traded. Lots of guys want to come back when they get traded. Various teams, you see it all the time, right? I don't think that that's a big factor. I think he might look at it as like, hey, I get to go play with LeBron, play with AD, right? Maybe we can win a championship. Maybe we compete with something. I can stick it to the Pelicans. And the Pelicans, there was this thought of like, they don't have the incentive to trade Brandon Ingram, specifically to the Lakers, right? Because they have the Lakers 2025 pick. Well, now that's traded. Now Atlanta has that pick. So now there isn't that incentive anymore to go and trade or not trade with the Lakers. Now there is that incentive of like, hey, we could give us the best package and we'll trade him, right? So that's the question. Can the Lakers create the best package? It depends on the market. If the market continues to be thin, again, it's very early. And as we progress and teams kind of get more like, we could use a guy, or teams kind of go, we really need to get off this guy before the season because we don't want him on the roster, right? It's one of the things that I've talked about with like Jerami Grant. Like, yes, the asking price is insane right now. He's just not worth 2 firsts in my opinion. The Lakers aren't going to do it for 2 firsts, but we're also like 2 months away from training camp, right? Once you get close to that, Jerami Grant's price probably drops because the Portland Trailblazers want to get off him. They want to trade him. They don't want to go into the season with him. But it's like, hey, you want him now? You want him early? Well, we're not an incentive to rush, right? We don't have to rush. We don't even have to really trade him, right? But I think ultimately you see it more times than not, push comes to shove. Great example is like the Utah trade. Now, I get that was at the trade deadline, but the Lakers decided at that point, there was talks that the Jazz lowered the price before they got into the regular season, but also D'Lo wasn't involved. And Lakers at that point were like, hey, we're already prepared. We'll just kind of see how this goes with the new coach. But then you saw the asking price was like literally a quarter of what the original was. But, Danny Ainge was like, hey, you want him early? It's going to cost you. So to me, I think the Lakers need to continue to be patient. However, I do like the idea of Brandon Ingram on the Lakers. Again, he can defend, switchable, right? Play 2 through 4, really. Right? He can get his own shot. He can score. He can close down the stretch. He would be a excellent, ideal fit for the Lakers. He can play some off ball. He can knock down the 3, do a little bit of everything. I like Brandon. I mean, he's the guy I wanted the Lakers to draft at that time, and they did. I know people, you could have gotten, was Brown that year? But point is that like Brandon Ingram was excellent at that time, coming out of Duke, and they ultimately drafted him, and I was stoked. And then it was like, hey, you got to trade him for Anthony Davis. It was like, yeah, trade him for Anthony Davis, right? But to me, there are some concerns, though, right? Particularly with the health. He hasn't really been a model of health lately, and he's going to want a max. And so the question is, like, is he really worth the max, given that, like, he can't play more than, like, 55 games a season? Granted, if he's with the Lakers compared to the Pelicans, he's not going to have as much of a workload. So maybe just by default, he's healthier, right? Because you also got to think of his tenure with the Pelicans. Been this constant turnover. Zion hasn't been able to stay healthy pretty much his entire tenure. And so it's like Brandon Ingram has to basically do everything for the Pelicans. Right? He has to defend, he has to shoot, he has to pass, he has to do everything. He has to be the all-around star for them. Where on the Lakers, he would be that other guy. He'd be the guy that can come in, and yes, he have games like that, but also he has LeBron and AD take pressure off of him. Right? So now he doesn't have to work as hard regularly. He can go get his 20, and teams aren't going to basically build their entire defensive schemes around Brandon Ingram because they have to worry about LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So Brandon Ingram would even just get better matchups and better opportunities, period. So I do think that there is an argument to be made that he may just, again, by default be healthier, but that's definitely a concern. And then also, he's not like excellent off ball. He's improved over the years, right? He playing alongside Zion, playing alongside CJ McCollum, right? He's shown stretches where he's been good. So would he be able to really be super effective, right? As like that 3-and-D Wayne that can at any moment, hey, here's the ball, go get a bucket, right? If he can, I think that you're talking. Like, you could have some real success, especially if you could go get him and then go get like a Gary Trent Jr. who the Lakers are targeting, right? Like, you could have something like Reeves, or if you bring in Spence, you could have Gary Trent off the bench, have like Spence, Reeves, Brandon Ingram, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. I think that's good, right? The problem is post LeBron, is Ingram and Davis, are those your two guys going forward that you can count on to game in and game out, night in, night out, be the catalyst for contention? I don't know. Like, Brandon Ingram, I don't know if he's your second best player. He's not your first best player. I think with the right other star, like if you get the right like superstar, like him alongside Giannis, maybe, right? But him alongside AD, is he, I think as like your third option, I think he's potentially one of the best in the league because of his versatility and how he can defend multiple positions, and he can get his own shot, and he can shoot over the top and close down the stretch. He can hit the 3 ball, he can play on ball, play off ball, all of these things. But post LeBron, I have my concerns that like, is this going to work with him? Is he going to be able to properly just kind of be the leader, stay healthy? Now he has more pressure. Now he has more to do. Now he doesn't have LeBron and AD to kind of default to. It's just him and AD plus a bunch of role players, unless somebody else emerges as that star. That's the real question. But it's also kind of like, what else is out there to get? I still like the idea of Zach LaVine, personally. I still think Zach LaVine, plus if you can get a first attached to LaVine, I think that's in good shape. But there is this kind of thought of like, Jerami Grant, okay. Like, Brandon Ingram is better than Jerami Grant. Would Jerami Grant be the better natural fit? Would Jerami Grant be the better guy to slot because he's better off ball, legit 3-and-D guy? He could still put the ball on the deck. He's not as, fundamentally sound as Ingram. He's not as much of a mismatch as Ingram. He's not as good of a bucket, like natural scorer and bucket getter, right? And he'd be cheaper post new contract. So it's definitely things that you got to weigh. But I don't know. I think if the price is right and you can get him, I don't hate the idea of potentially making that move. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea of going and trying to acquire Brandon Ingram? Maybe working out some type of trade for Ingram. Do you think, no, stay away from Ingram? Would you rather have like a Jerami Grant, a Cam Johnson? Is there somebody in particular that you just see as like the better option, the better fit? Do you have concerns about Brandon Ingram and his health, which to me is probably the biggest concern, right? But anyway, as always, again, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.